Well, hello everyone. It's Genesis Hey Krick here, your business empowerment coach and founder of Shine on Women. I am so excited to be here with you today. I have a very, very special guest, a dear friend of mine, somebody that is just a complete inspiration. I absolutely love her, and I know you will too. Her name is Starr Burroughs. She's an author of The Ineligible Bachelorette. She also has her own podcast called The Confident Single Woman. She's a mother of two. She's a Christian woman entrepreneur. Lady, she's got it going on. It's so incredibly amazing. Thank you for being here today, Starr.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I absolutely love the name Starr. I have a son named Starr, and I had originally thought that he was going to be a girl, and he turned out to be a boy. So we still were able to incorporate the Starr into his name. So really, really cool. So how did you get that? Where did Starr come from?
Well, it's actually not that exciting of a story for the name Starr. So I think how it goes is my dad, I think, was a youth pastor, and there was someone in his youth ministry with the name Starr. I think some sort of story like that. And then there was an actress or an actor with the last name Starr. So my dad liked the name Starr, and he brought it up to my mom and said, "What do you think about naming her Starr?" And my mom said, "Okay, well, it has to be with two R's because the last name Starr is always with two R's."
Sure.
And so it's really simple. My dad knew of this person with the name Starr, and my mom, there was an actor or actress with the last name Starr with two R's. She said, "Okay, but it has to be two R's." And that's it. So that's where Starr came from.
Well, I love it no matter what. And it's absolutely a conversation piece. So
Yeah.
really cool stuff. I'm really big on names. So I always like to hear about where they come from. So with all of these things going on, I'm so excited to be able to share just opportunities with people and how they can connect with you and purchase your book and get involved in your podcast and all that good stuff. So first and foremost, you're a Christian women entrepreneur. You're a coach. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business? Share with the audience kind of what it's about and how they can coach with you potentially.
Yeah. Well, so I wrote this book with the idea that I would help single women, much like myself when I was single, find out how they might be sabotaging themselves. And I thought there's so many women who need to hear this message because I realized I needed to hear this message when I was single. And so after I wrote the book, I thought, okay, I need to work on some marketing, and I'd love to coach with single women to help them discover in what ways they could potentially be holding themselves back. Because it's really hard to be super self-aware. And then when you're involved in the love game and there's emotions and feelings, they're so powerful, and intuitive, smart women somehow aren't able to really rely all the time on their intuition, and it's just a confusing time. Like, I know that was the case for myself, and our emotions and feelings sometimes lie to us. We think one thing and we realize we were wrong. So for me to be able to guide someone from where they are right now, trying to figure out why is it that I haven't found the right person? Is there anything that I'm doing? Is there anything I could change to help guide them from that point to the end goal, which is being in a relationship with someone that they actually want to marry? Because a lot of times you create a great life for yourself and you think, okay, well then I'll open up my life to another man to be, my husband, but he better be a really good guy. Because right now I have a pretty decent life. I'm doing well. I bought my own home. I have my own career. I've taken care of myself, And so I just want to help guide that woman from point A to point B. And that's just really what I'm passionate about, is that process.
I love that. And, I think it's more typical today than ever before, because as successful women, we're very independent. We feel like so much of the time we can just do our own thing. We don't need, guys to be a part of our lives. And for me, for a long time, that was my mindset. And I just felt like I could never find that perfect person because my life was kind of set in a certain way, and I wasn't going to mold myself around anybody else. And I think what the heart of the matter is that, you know, with any relationship, and you would, you know this best, but you have to be able to have some give and take. And in order for a relationship to work, you have to be willing to bend a little bit. So I don't think there's any perfect guy out there. You know, I know we all have these ideas of what exactly we want, what we expect, and what we're hoping for in terms of our Prince Charming. But at the end of the day, you know, we all have flaws. And I think, you know, you would know that best as a women's coach who helps people to work through some of these challenges. But yeah, it's very typical for today. And I think that there's a lot of people that could use your services, and to help them to find that person that's right for them, but also to help them to foresee some of maybe the things that they're challenged with personally.
Right. It's a lot of inner work, right? I'm sure people have heard that term before, but I'm just looking inward and figuring out, you know, what are my expectations? What are the standards I have? What are my attractions? And then digging deep to figure out, well, why are they the way that they are? Because I never tell someone, just force yourself to be attracted to someone. Like, that doesn't work. Sometimes you have to break up off a relationship because you don't like someone and you just don't know why. I mean, you just can't force something, right? But then I have to ask and like do the inner work, and I help them through that process. Well, why? Like, you have to figure yourself out. It's and women are very self-analytical. Like, we really are. And sometimes almost too much. But I'm telling you, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love, your heart, your feelings, your emotions, they're so powerful that they can lead us in the wrong direction, lead smart, intelligent women who have good judgment, who are very discerning, and who are very wise. And it's a confusing, frustrating road. So
it really is. And I feel like the older you get, and especially as you're climbing in your business or the corporate ladder or whatnot, the harder it is to change that. You know, you're just like, you're set in your ways, you're comfortable. These are your expectations. And, you know, and guys are the same way, I'm sure. Like, you know, it's just, it's dealing with, you know, as we grow as people, we're like, you know, I'm not going to settle for X, Y, and Z. So I totally hear you on that. And it's extremely significant and important to address. So your clients that you're typically working with, do you have a certain demographic, or, I mean, do you try to stay in a certain range as far as age is concerned, or do you have like a broad range of specifications that you like to work with, or is it just kind of open to Christian women entrepreneurs?
Well, it's really open to Christian women in general, and they don't have to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Okay.
But, you know, I have younger women who are interested, but not necessarily interested in the coaching. So they might be interested in the videos I put out, my podcast, but they aren't always in a place in life where they are saying, you know, hands up in the air, I'm done, I need help, I need some guidance. It's usually the women who are a little bit older. So maybe they're in their 30s, 35, 40, 45, and even sometimes in their 50s. And there isn't like a hard number, right? It just depends on how eager they are to have someone to guide them through that process.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's great too, because I mean, there are many women at different ends of the spectrum. So, I mean, you could help somebody that went through divorce. You could help somebody that just is getting out of college, and they're trying to find their way and find that Mr. Right. So I feel that your services could benefit people in a wide range of ways. So that's really exciting. Well, cool. So what would you say some of your goals are then, potentially maybe for 2018? Do you have any specific goals in mind? And then even beyond that, if you'd like to share.
Yeah. So right now I'm focusing on one-on-one coaching just because I enjoy that, and I'm able to like focus with that person
Sure.
and their specific needs and their specific situation. However, my plan, my goal for 2018 is to open up a group coaching program. So that is on the horizon, and I'm hoping spring to summertime that I will be able to start that. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be kind of an adventure to work with multiple women, because when you work with a group of people, you don't get as specific and as detailed to their situation. But I'm really excited about that.
I love groups too. And I just feel like any group that I've ever been a part of has been so beneficial because you can
Same
get
here.
plugged in and brainstorm and, have really great camaraderie with other like-minded women. So I think that that's awesome. Just
Yeah.
so cool because, they can relate to a lot of the things that you've been through. There's an ability to be able to empathize and sympathize with a lot of the things that
Mhm.
all of everybody that's involved in that group is going through. So really cool stuff. So what would you say inspired you then to start all of this? Was there a specific situation or instance that occurred, or is it just something that's kind of been on your heart for a long time?
Well, I do think, my personal story when I was single and then when I began dating my husband, that it really inspired me to help women. And I realized at that time in my life, I was in my 20s and I had wanted to get married for a long time. However, I wasn't interested in, like, I didn't date a lot. I wasn't the type of person who, like, marriage and children were, my end all be all. Like, that was all I ever wanted in life. That wasn't me. However, I really wanted to get married. And it was not easy for me to like guys, I mean, it just wasn't easy. It's like people talk about falling in love. I was like, I could hardly fall in like with a guy, and I didn't, I just felt like a lot of times the books that were written or the messages that were preached or just spoken at, for whatever event, were to women who were just not like me. It was all about, how not to compromise, don't lower your standards, and how to recognize red flags, or not just recognize them, but walk away from them. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, man, like, I don't have issues with that. Like, if anything, I'm holding myself back because I'm afraid to let go, and I'm afraid to have feelings, and I'm afraid to feel love for someone, and I'm afraid of what could go wrong. And so when I started dating my husband, none of that stuff was really solved. That's actually when all of these fears came to the surface. And I realized, wow, it was like this volcanic eruption of these fears, these worries, these concerns. And, people talk about how men are afraid of commitment. I felt like the biggest commitment phobe. And it was just so interesting because I felt during that season just like a very, just not like a typical girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was, and well, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a struggle, but I thought, man, there has to be other people like me who are not the typical girl, like where our heart doesn't rule our emotions, because our emotions, it's like we are much more head than heart, right? Which again may not be the typical girl. Men in general you would say, have head over heart, and that's how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And so, going through this whole process of dating my husband and then marrying him, and in that process, talking with other friends about what I was learning, and, my conversations with them, helping them in their process while they were dating someone and ended up marrying them, I kind of realized I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
I'm not the only girl who struggles with these fears. I'm not the only girl who not has too high of standards, but just has maybe unnecessary standards, or I couldn't really answer the question, well, why is that so important to me?
Sure.
Why is that keeping me from having feelings for someone? Why do I feel this way? Why can't I be attracted to, and I'm not talking about physical attraction, that's easy, but like, why can't I really just like someone?
Yeah.
Again, it felt so atypical for women because it seems like, and so I just wanted to write this book. Really, it would have been a book for myself, the ineligible bachelorette. Like, hey, these are the ways that I found out that I was ineligible. And I would have never, ever, ever said that there were certain things I was doing in my heart or certain mentalities or limiting beliefs I had that were keeping me single, And so I would have never known that. And so it's essentially a book written to myself and realizing there's a lot of other women like me who may feel like no one is speaking to them. So that's really where my inspiration came from. And just it's grown from there where, I just want to help women maybe recognize what's going on in their heart, what's going on in their head, what mentalities or thought process they have that are holding them back.
Yeah, and I just absolutely love what you have to say because it really resonates with me, and I think it would really resonate with a lot of women today. I think it's a constant struggle, and I feel that, just the way our culture is, way our society is, the expectations of what we're supposed to do in terms of fulfilling all of these roles as working women, it can really throw you to the wayside in terms of how we view our relationships, essentially. And you, like I, feel that God has a significant piece in all of this and this whole process of marriage and relationships and doing things together. And having that piece is just so essential to the success of the relationships. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's what I was saying before, like you can't force yourself to be attracted to someone. And if you don't have peace about a relationship and you don't know why, the fact remains you don't have peace. So even if there are things that need to change on the inside of you, step away from the relationship until you can realize what those things are that might need to change on the inside of you. Or maybe it's just not the right person.
Right.
Even if that person is perfect on paper, if you don't have peace, you can't ignore the fact that you don't have peace. So I absolutely believe
not
that.
The right person.
Right.
There might be somebody better that's coming along, tomorrow, next week, next year. We don't know exactly when that person's going to come into our lives, but I think, as you would probably agree, we need to trust God's timing on having that right person come. And I've seen countless situations where people have been older, later after they've been in the career for a while, they don't have kids, and they are just so sad at the fact that they don't have anybody in their life. But if they would be willing to pray about it and just open themselves up to what potentially maybe God is sharing with them or wanting them to know about themselves, that maybe there's potentially something inside of them that needs to be changed in order to meet that perfect person. Because I know I've definitely been there, so I can certainly relate to women going through certain situations where they just feel like, I'm comfortable in the way that I am in my own shoes, and I'm not going to change, and I am good, and that right person will come along when they come along. But I think that trusting in God's timing is always, that's key to success of any relationship too. So, but really, really good stuff today, Starr. It's been such a privilege and an honor to have you on my podcast. I love what you had to share today. So much inspiration, great advice, and there's so much more that you can do for women that are looking for your coaching. So what are some ways that they can get plugged in to get either on a list or set up a coaching session, maybe a discovery call? What would you recommend for them?
Well, they can always email me directly, and I'm kind of done with the discovery calls, or these they're different sessions for each group that I do, but I'll start that again in the new year. So they can always email me directly at starr@starburroughs.com, and I know you'll probably put that link somewhere, that email somewhere. Yeah. But then I also have a resource guide that they can get, and they can put in their email, and then they can reach me that way. So that's just simple. It's starburroughs.com/gift. Or if they even want to go to my podcast, they can do that as well. But I think the best way is to email me directly, go to my Facebook page. Again, it's Starr Burroughs Books on Facebook. or yeah. And I think that you'll probably get the link somewhere because it's StarRBurroughs. I'm always spelling the name.
Well, you
Yeah.
heard that, ladies, and she's an amazing person. She's got a lot of insight when it comes to building relationships. She's a godly woman. She really wants the best for every single person that she works with. She has such a great heart, and there's a lot of opportunities for you to get plugged in here with her. So wanted to encourage you to check out the description that I'm going to be placing, and you'll be able to reach her. And she's going to be able to connect with you on a much, much deeper level than just this podcast. So I want to thank you so much for listening in today. Really appreciate your support. We appreciate reviews, anything that you'd like to do in terms of sharing this information. If you feel it would be beneficial for anyone else, we would absolutely love that. So Starr, thank you so much for being on Shine on Women today.
Oh, yes. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, and we'll look forward to hopefully having you on again in the near future.
Yes, I love that.
All right. So take care, ladies. Thank you.